Noura Al-Taqaqa, The Wedding. She played for the jinn. In the 1990s, in Kuwait, there lived a woman named Noura Al-Taqaqa who was admired and respected by everyone. Her voice wasn't just beautiful, it carried a soul. When she sang, it was as if joy itself poured out of her drum. At every celebration and wedding, when Noura stepped onto the stage, the crowd would rise to their feet. Women danced, men smiled, and children clapped along. But no one knew that behind her calm smile hid a woman tired of endless nights of music. A woman who was soon to face a world from which no human had ever returned. That fateful night, the air was hot and heavy. Noura had just come back from a long performance and hadn't even changed her clothes when the phone rang. A deep male voice, calm but commanding, said, "Ms. Noura, there's a wedding tonight near Al-Jahra. Money is no issue. You'll be paid whatever you ask. You must come. The celebration lasts until dawn." Noura hesitated at first, but the man continued in a tone that was neither pleading nor threatening. "The bride herself requested that only you perform. Your presence is the key to tonight's joy." That was enough. Noura agreed. She called 2 musicians and a drummer, and soon the 4 of them set off into the night. The farther they drove from the city, the darker the road became. Streetlights faded one by one. Only the car's headlights and the sound of the wind remained. Noura stared out the window and suddenly said, "It's strange. There's a light out there ahead of us. But why is it moving?" The musician beside her chuckled, saying it was probably another car. But the light didn't get closer. It floated, then vanished into the dark. For several minutes, there was nothing but silence. When they finally reached the location, they were stunned by what they saw. A magnificent hall standing alone in the middle of the desert. Its roof shimmered faintly, as if made of silver. The doors were wide open, and a faint, unfamiliar melody drifted from within. Yet no lights could be seen. Inside, the hall was full of people, men and women dressed in elegant traditional garments, but their faces were blurred, as though a thin mist hung before them. No one spoke. Only a low murmuring sound filled the air. Like dozens of whispers in different tongues. A woman in a wedding dress glided toward Noura. Something about her movements wasn't right. Smooth, almost floating, as if her feet didn't touch the ground. She smiled and said, "Welcome, Noura. Everyone's been waiting for you. Tonight, you must play until dawn, because until then, we're still here." Noura's hands trembled as she lifted her drum. Her musicians noticed her unease but said nothing. The first beat echoed through the hall, but the echo didn't sound natural. It bounced back from every wall, multiplied, and filled the room. The guests began to move, not like humans dancing, but like shadows gliding across the floor. Their feet were invisible. Their eyes glowed faintly. Every time Noura grew tired and tried to pause, a bodiless voice whispered into her ear, "Keep playing. It isn't over yet." As the hours passed, time lost meaning. The air grew thicker. Cold sweat trickled down Noura's neck. Sometimes, the walls seemed to breathe. One of the musicians suddenly screamed and collapsed, but no one paid him any attention. Noura no longer knew whether she was awake or trapped in a nightmare. She just kept playing, her eyes fixed on the dark crowd. Then, a woman from the audience stepped forward and whispered into her ear, "When you hear the call to Fajr, Don't run. Just close your eyes. They fear the sound Noura didn't even have time to ask, who are they? Because at that very moment, a distant voice rang out through the night. Allahu Akbar. Instantly, everything froze. The guests stopped moving, the lights went out, and in a single breath, the entire hall vanished. Noura fell onto the sand. The wind tugged at her veil. There was no hall, only endless desert. Her fellow musicians lay unconscious nearby. The sun began to rise, and Noura whispered the only words she could. Until the morning call. They wouldn't let me leave. Months later, one of the musicians was admitted to a psychiatric hospital. Another claimed that every night, just before dawn, he could hear the faint sound of Noura's drum echoing from the desert. And Noura? She never performed again. Neighbors said she sometimes hummed softly to herself, then stopped, suddenly, as if someone were standing right behind her. Even today, locals in Al-Jahra swear that if you travel along the old desert roads after midnight, you can still hear the faint rhythm of drums drifting through the sand. And if you listen carefully, a woman's voice rides the wind, whispering, "The wedding isn't over yet, and I'm still playing."